All right. I believe we are live. That did not go as smoothly as planned. I'm not in my own home today. I'm in somebody else's home. So my setup was a little different. My camera didn't want to turn on. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to come in today. I mean, I'm coming in live a couple times a week and just talking about different topics that I think are interesting related to money, because it's so little about money and it's so much about all the other things that surface when money is a component. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today specifically is financial regret and maybe how you can avoid it. So I have to admit that I am not much of a reader. I love to listen to audiobooks. I love actually really like bite-sized things. That's why I love podcasts, because bite-sized information to me is more digestible than sitting down and reading a book. I hate to admit that, but that's just the honest truth. And I have a lot of people ask me what kind of or what different financial books I recommend. And I always kind of hesitate because, if I'm being honest, I haven't read a ton of personal finance books. But a couple weeks ago, I somehow this came into my periphery, and I found the book called The Year of Less, and it is Cait. Why am I losing her last name right now? I'm forgetting. I'm going to have to link to it in the notes. Oh my goodness. I almost want to look it up right now. Holy cow. I'm going to, because it's a fantastic book. The Year of Less. It's, Cait Flanders. Yes. And it's spelled Cait, Cait Flanders. And in her book, she talks about um, kind of going on like a spending fast, if you will, for a year. So I don't know if you've ever seen any kind of challenges, or different people often will sort of like create community around just not spending, right? Like basically just buy only your essentials, what you absolutely must have in order to survive, and nothing more. So her book kind of outlines a year of not spending. And, she talks about all the different things that she goes through when, hitting pause before buying anything. And one of the components to it, I mean, she ties in a lot of other things about her story, which is also about, getting organized and decluttering, and her journey with sobriety. There's just a lot to it. And one of the things that she talks about in that book is, in her sort of like decluttering process, she starts going through and just purging her belongings. And one of the things that she says is, I know that some of these things I bought in the hopes that my future self would use it or read it or wear it, right? And then if, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years later, you still haven't worn that thing, you still haven't read that book, you still haven't, played that game, whatever the case may be, just get rid of it. And I mean, you can continue to tell yourself, but I still want to be that person. Well, then go out and be that person and focus on that first, right? Like, don't buy a goal dress, use it as a reward dress instead, right? Like, hit your goal and then reward yourself with the dress. Don't buy the dress with the goal of, I hope I fit into this in a year. It's just a really interesting thought. So part of the financial regret, a lot of the financial hangover, if you will, can often be related to, just getting kind of caught up in the moment, and then realizing, days later or weeks later or sometimes years later, you regret spending money on that. You wish that you had still had that money instead of that thing. I say to people oftentimes, I actually get buyer's remorse before I actually buy something. Have you ever seen at the checkout stand, or, anywhere in a store, that, you're in like the children's clothing section, and all of a sudden you look over and you see like an umbrella or a book or something that someone just laid it down there because they didn't go put it back. That's totally me. I think about things that I want to buy sometimes, and while I'm like in the store, I'm like, oh, I love this, and I put it in my cart or I grab it and I walk around with it. And then honestly, it takes me all of 5 minutes to continue walking around that store. And I'm like, I don't need this. I totally don't need this. And I will just put it down wherever I am and then leave. So I am totally guilty of that. But I have buyer's remorse before I even buy something, just because I feel like I in the moment really kind of stop and reflect as I'm walking around. That's like the cooling off period. They say that if you have a really hard time with curbing your spending, that you should sort of, set for yourself some guidelines, like sleep on it. Any purchase I make over X amount of dollars, I'm going to agree to go home and sleep on it. And then if I still need it, want it as badly as I did the day before, I can go back and get it. Now, there's all kinds of different arguments for why that could be a pain in the ass, but it makes sense, right? It just is getting us to slow down a little bit. So one thing that I want you to do, if you are someone who has dealt with any financial regret, I want you to simply go through your things. And I don't care if it's in your closet, if it's in your kid's toy box, if it's in, your kitchen cabinets, if it's in your garage, wherever it is. You don't need to dump anything on the floor. I'm not asking you to purge your belongings, none of that. But I want you to just stand and visually just take inventory of what you see in front of you, because I know that the majority of us have things in our homes that we look at day in and day out and have regret. And we think to ourselves, man, I shouldn't have bought that coat. I haven't worn that coat in 6 years. Or I should not have bought that snowboard. I could have rented one a couple times and figured out that I don't like it, right? Like, there are just so many things. I know one of the things that I've been harping on a lot right now, because it's the holidays, is the gifts that we give our kids. And while I am a huge fan of giving gifts to others, we just sometimes go, overboard because we get caught up in a moment. And if things go untouched or unappreciated, I don't want you to think, maybe that was the wrong gift. I should have gotten this gift instead. No, I want you to just be more intentional about the things that you buy, about the clothes that you buy for yourself. And I mean, yeah, I'll pause there. The things that you buy for others, the things that you buy for your home, the things that you buy for yourself. I want you to just start becoming more intentional and just pausing and thinking about it. There is so much adrenaline and hype with marketing. People have this ability to make you feel like the scarcity of like, oh, it may not be here tomorrow. And that's the whole jazz about Black Friday, isn't it? When you go in, I've only done Black Friday shopping one time, like at midnight. My sister and I went out when I was visiting in Omaha, and I've never done it again since. It was the worst. That was the one year that I wanted to buy a gaming system for my kids, which also didn't get used a whole lot. It got used some. It didn't just sit. But I went to Walmart in the middle of the night because it was Black Friday. It kind of goes against everything I really stand for, but I went, and I had never even seen anything like it because I'd never done that before. But it was like there were these cages that were kind of like locked with the thing that they knew was like the hot ticket. And I kid you not, I mean, maybe I'm preaching to the choir. You may already know this, but the people were just like forming like herds around these cages, just like salivating. And you knew that the minute some employee came over and like unlocked that cage of like, okay, now that thing is on sale. It takes me back to my childhood and thinking about the Cabbage Patch Kid frenzy, right? Where parents were like stomping each other to get these Cabbage Patch dolls. And, I ended up, I didn't even stay long enough to watch them open the cage on Black Friday. I looked at the hordes of people just hovering over these gadgets, and I just thought, no thanks. And we turned around and left. Like, I was in the store and out of the store within maybe 5 minutes, and I thought, I might have to pay a little bit more, but I am just going to go home and get online and find this thing for some sort of a deal somewhere. And I did. But I'm just telling you, we can get so caught up in, if I don't get it now, it's not going to be there tomorrow. And I get that. But also, I want you to think about something. If you think that you want something, I'm not talking about need something, I'm talking about want something, and you are too scared to like, no, let's not even say that. Let's just say you're toying with the notion of, I should think about this, but if I don't get it right now, it might not be here tomorrow. Sometimes I feel like there's a lesson in that. There's lessons in that. If you do decide to wait and not buy the thing, and it doesn't all have to be about holiday frenzy, it could just be about anything, right? Some new shoes that you want, a new purse, a new car, a new house, a new lawnmower, whatever. You insert whatever the item is. If you don't buy it the first time you see it, and you go home and you think about it, and then the next day you go back and it's not there anymore, it's gone, then what? I mean, is it okay? Can you deal with it? Can you find it somewhere else? Do you maybe just have to wait a little bit longer? I mean, obviously it's different if we're talking like a one-of-a-kind art piece that, there's only 5 in existence, if that's your thing, right? But anyway, so I want you to, number one, kind of learn to like take a pause before you buy things and like notice and feel. Do I feel like, is my heart kind of racing a little bit right now? Do I feel like a little bit of an adrenaline about this purchase before or after? Because a lot of people who feel that adrenaline, that sort of like dopamine hit after they buy stuff, it goes away very, very quickly. Very quickly. It diminishes. And then we are looking for the next thing, right? So yeah, I want you to just kind of reflect on that, but also I want you to take just a few minutes and just do this one exercise. Just go pick any area of your house where you might see a little regret tangibly, and just sort of take inventory of that garage, or the kid toys, or the rec room in the basement, or the closet. Just look around and just really kind of think to yourself, if I could go back in time and redo this, would I have spent that money on that thing? Because I'm telling you, I think if you want to change your financial situation, or if you want things to be different, you can't keep doing the same things. And some things are harder than others. Sometimes it's as simple as just like, let's get organized and get a plan, and then we're off into the races. But sometimes we have to sort of like hold a mirror up to ourselves and realize, I'm sabotaging my own success by continuing this spending behavior, right? I've been there too. I've done it. So I understand, and there's no judgment in that, but there's such value in recognizing that that is what it is, right? So, okay, I'm going to leave it at that today. Short and sweet. I hope to see you again soon. And again, I do have a really exciting, intensive 6-week program that's coming up in mid-December. And I'm going to be working with a smaller group of people really, really intensely. And we are going to get after some great change. So if you want to hear more about that, just drop a comment, say, tell me more, and I will give you more details about that too. But until then, until I see you next time, take care. Have a great day. Bye.